Well, welcome everybody. Today at the Tribal Education Caucus, we have Donnie Wetzel here, and he's going to be talking about kin group. And take it away, Donnie.
Okay. So thank you guys for taking time. I know you're slammed and coming up here. So it's good to see you. I'll just kind of blast through this. I brought it up different times and we visited a little bit about it, but so last I'd say a year and a half ago in September of 2021, it would have been 21. Yeah. I was visiting with one of our elders. So in the past, do I have to say who I am on this?
No, I already did.
Okay. In the past, we did a lot of work in our school systems. And I worked very deep in the school systems with the Schools of Promise program. So we brought in a lot of outside sources and a lot of supports and really pushed that agenda. And it was hit and miss, mainly miss. One of the pieces that we started to bring in, and I brought this up in that one presentation I did, is we brought in culture, we brought in youth, and we brought in tribal voice. And so then we took a shot at that for a while. And our final schools was in Hayes Lodgepole. We started to incorporate culture. And the whole idea is to get our kids to a place where they're centered and ready to learn, to take in what is being taught because of the trauma they may be going through. So what we started to see is a great impact of cultural inclusion, like Smudge in the Morning, the drum, different things like that. We're making a great impact on the kids. And they had a lot of disciplinary actions before that. And this is just about one or two schools. After we started to incorporate in that, following the elders' guidance, it started to change the whole school in a certain way. And kids were, those that may not know that stuff at home were starting to get access to it. So talking with one of our elders before from Blackfoot, Leonard Bastine, I was visiting with him on some work that we were doing here with the youth. And he said that in Canada, he created an elder culture wisdom council. And so it was always like, how can we do that here? And it was the one piece that we've kind of looked past. And it is, you know, of course, westernized education, but we wanted to look at offering kids an option to maybe learn their self-identity, their culture as well. And to bring that type, and it's tied to the language and everything. So I wrote a grant, Healthcare Foundation grant, to fund a pilot project and create an elder culture wisdom council. So I contacted folks across Indian country, and I used to work at the Tribal Leaders Council. We had an elders council back in those days with Joe Ironman and some of these old legends, you know, George and Molly were there. It was back in the day. And so I remembered the power of that. We did that around suicide prevention, because Wind River Reservation had 18 suicides, I think, in a 2 or 3 year span, and they brought their elders in and they did a ceremony and just ended everything. So when this started to come up, I was looking at ways, because everyone will speak on, we need to indigenize our schools. What does that look like? And a lot of times, I don't know if you guys ever see the quote on my email, but the problem we do is we add culture into westernized education when we should be adding westernized education into our culture. We need to be the foundation. We need to be the roots. And so this group came up, and I was intrigued by it because he told me it led to their reconciliation work with the Canadian government. And so a lot of this stuff has never really been looked at. And our elders, of course, are at doctoral levels. They're 4 to 5 doctorals, if you would look at them in that manner. So I was always told you keep money out of this stuff, but that was back in the old days, in that 2000 turn of the century. So how do we develop something where we're using our elders in a proper manner, our knowledge keepers? How do we respect them and the knowledge they hold as we would someone who has a doctor education from a college? And that always bothers me. And so that's where we started to pull this in. And so if you guys can see there, I was working with Leonard. He guided me, and then I started to make calls out. And I know that within each of the tribe, and I don't know much about much, but I'll know certain folks and I'll start there. I'll say, who can I ask to be on this? So I called every tribe, Cheyenne and, Assiniboine Sioux, Rocky Boy, Salish Kootenai. So I picked up a pretty strong group of folks that are really highly respected. There's naysayers all over. Well, they can't, so I was trying to hover above all that. So like, for instance, Salish Kootenai, I got Tony Inkashoa, and he was their cultural advisor till he passed away last year. And maybe it was last year. I got Vernon Finley, who's a Kootenai cultural advisor. So he guided me to a couple others that he goes to. And then we got, I got Bruce Sunchild in Harlan, Baker in Rocky Boy. And Bruce just passed, a few months ago. And so we're still kind of floating. Then we have the elder women there, Patsy Gopher and some of those folks. In Blackfeet, I had Leonard, I had Oozer Bird, and then I was looking to get John and Carol Murray. And then over in Fort Belknap, I got Tuffy, Terry, Terry's Tuffy, John Stiff Farm, and Nancy, and then Renita Longknife. Renita was passed on from Ken Ryan. So I had Ken Ryan at Fort Peck. I pulled in Tommy Christian, Mike Turcott, and some of those guys as well. And so and then I also say traditionally, if you want to invite your ladies, bring them. And so that's always there. Northern Cheyenne, I got Conrad Fisher and Rick Wolfname. It's all right.
We're good.
Thank you. So then, and then in Crow, I've pulled in folks, different folks have shown up. Jen Flatlip and Darren Old Coyote is the one that's been consistent. So we got that group together and started to talk about ways that we can work to indigenize our school systems.
Just a quick note that that's including the females, because a lot of the times are bundle carriers, or like my Uncle Carl, when he passed with the hand game, his wife still has that. And so we haven't had hand games for feather game for our family yet in a while. He passed away maybe 12, 13 years ago, but it's believed that whenever the man has a responsibility, his wife carries that too.
Yep.
Like Mike Turcott, and Rain is the other half.
Yep.
So Rain is just as important as he is when it comes to our medicine.
Yep. And she's tried to jump in, but like they're always heading in different ways. John and Nancy Stifffarm are very consistent.
Yeah. And
so like, yeah, we wanted to create something that's similar to our protocols. And like, there really wasn't a lot, happening inside of OPI like that. It was very westernized, like IFA and those things. That was our unit. I wanted it to be very similar and heavy on a tribal philosophy side. So this group, we started to look at different things. Like I was at NIEA, and I'm not saying nothing like negative, but we had these keynote speakers, and they're all doctors of education that happen to be Indian. So then I had a side meeting with this group, and we're talking about indigenizing our schools. What does self-identity mean? What does this language mean? And you have a lot of Native doctorate level candidates from the university system. Some may speak the language, but not like our elders. And so I brought that up. I said, if we're talking about indigenizing, and you're talking about linking your kids to whom what they are as Native people, my way, I'll go to my tribal cultural elders. And we haven't even brought that up here. So that's where this is really ahead of the curve on a lot of this stuff. There's folks who are very interested in this. And so through that grant, I was able to get about 50,000. And so I've been paying them to be our consultants, getting their travel, anything that I can do for them, we're trying to do. We started to look at things. It was an interesting conversation. We've been meeting probably every 2 months for a year and a half now. And we turned it into creating these articles of association on how to work with such people in our communities. And this was a vision that if we can do something like this inside of OPI, can these articles be spread across to labor, to commerce, to whoever in the, fish, wildlife, and parks? They should have an elder committee helping them with the land base, with the education and our, our water, all that stuff. I mean, so I was visiting with Quinn Kuka about that stuff. And so this is a base that could take off in the other way. And it's directly to the source. So we talked about different kind of self-identity language. What they chose to say is that in this committee, we're going to stay at a spiritual and a human level of support. We're not going to get in the weeds. We're going to be apolitical and apersonal. So it was a really powerful thing. We had people pop in and they got personal and they're going at something. They said, hold on, that ain't done here. So we suggest you step out. And then another elder came and said the same thing. So this person had to step up. And so like, that's the beauty of this, even through tribal consultation. If we've done this and I've met with the councils, there's an election that comes. So I'll keep this group pretty close because they'll always be there. And our elections will come and go, So we started to look at different ways. That was a key, is that we offer support to get our kids to a healthier, stronger life. What does that look like? And so then you talk about how do we bring in such things into a school system? Well, they can approach that in a certain manner. It's up to the administration and whoever, school board, to allow it. But those are the discussions. So you look at this articles here in this box. When we started to look at defining these roles, there was a long conversation around the term elder. You guys probably would understand it. We'll talk 2 hours on just that. And they wanted to change their name to Knowledge Keepers. So last fall, they wanted to change the name to Knowledge Keepers of Indigenous Nations instead of elders, because it was confusing people that it's tied to age.
Nobody wants to be an elder
Now,
these days.
that one guy was a young elder in that one show.
Well, in some capacity, people think that just because they're old, they're an elder,
They have the rights.
and it
and all.
doesn't have the same,
Merit.
I guess. Yeah, I guess in a way, yes, they are, but when it comes to certain things that you should know.
Yeah.
Unless you've been through all these things, not an elder.
Yeah. So they named themselves Knowledge Keepers of Indigenous Nations, KIN, which was cool, So then when we started to look at, and this is also happening in that thing, I didn't send it to you, but our agenda next week in Billings is Tribal Leaders Summit. We want to start to look at ways of what does success mean to us as Indian people? What does it mean to our youth, our children? What does it mean to our elders, our families? Is our school system aligned to that? And so can we create it where it's aligned to that, instead of, becoming corporate America, building this and that, leaving your res, going and helping? Can we design a system that's aligned our kids to a healthy way of life? And it would really include a lot of the elders. So they're a huge part in the discussions. We even had, so say that something comes up inside of OPI and there's a committee or a different unit that's dealing with something and they're having a tough time. What they've done over the last 30, 40 years hasn't worked in Indian country. We have set up a system now that they can send us an email. They run it through me. I can run it and send it out to the kin group and say, anybody interested or dealt with this topic before? So we may get to a point where we'll teach folks internally, you offer tobacco, or if you do this, or find out what that tribe wants. So they can help us design all these things. But moving forward, these guys are front and center of all our work. And it's developed this articles of incorporation, and it really breaks it down to the definitions of what they are, the commonalities of the Plains tribes. And it was interesting, and Leonard gave me a heads up on this. He said there'd be a lot of posturing with even the elder group there to let people know that, hey, I'm supposed to be here and I know this and that. Then it'll eventually go away and people will be able to respectfully shake hands and listen to each other. And then we'll get into, what does mental health mean to our Indian people? What are things that we can do with the land that can help with such things? What is this? What does language mean to this? So we had a group of youth come up with questions. I was gonna include it here, but very, very powerful. How do I approach an elder to get my name? What is the process of, I mean, all of these things that, you know, being very careful and not minimizing the strength of our knowledge, but maybe bringing a few things into our school systems. You know, you remember back in the day, Lance, when they had them suicides and nothing came from Fraser. So I remember these discussions and they were talking about Fraser still remains a very traditional way of life out there. And they had certain people at that time. I think it was Robert Forstar in it. Is that
Yeah,
your?
Bob.
So those guys were there and they're saying, well, maybe something's up out there. Because they were doing a lot of stuff in the school system. So like, can this stuff help? Maybe there's some kids who go that route or some that don't, but have it sitting there and helping that is the most important thing, I think. So these guys have looked at that. We looked at commonalities. We talked about, you know, we developed a pay scale for them and it should be higher, you know, like Jay Eagleman. We talked, it's, you know, you can't even pay them ever enough for what they're dropping on us and helping us with. But we put some things together and I can share that later, that articles of association, because they've signed off on it, the criteria to be kin, you know, and how this selection process happens. And then even like the standards of representation as a kin member, like be apolitical, apersonal. How's it going?
Hi, it's going well. Good to see you.
Yeah, long time no
Oh,
see.
Joe.
So they helped us develop this whole process. And so what it means when you step into this group and how they take care of each other. So like we had kids that were interested in stories in the fall. And they were saying I like spooky stories, you know, and every tribe has stories. And they're always a lesson. So the kids asked the question of what they would like to see, what they'd like to hear. So I was able to send that to the group and say, anybody want to tell some stories? Our next meeting is next week. Would you like to come on? So we got Blackfeet and Kootenai and then Nakota came in. 3 individuals told different stories to the kids. And it was on Zoom, but it was just, those kids did not leave the screen. They sat there and we had probably 6-7 schools there. And they just sat there engaged. And one of them, Vernon Finley, told a story on how the Kootenai got their skeleton. And it was just intense and scary. He changed his voice, but like those kids talked about that for the next few months, you know. So we were going to do something like that during Christmas, but I don't know if it happened. But so just simple things like that to have access to such a group, you know, and kids are just, they're so hungry for it. Their parents may be in a different place, but they're really coming up. So getting into this a little bit more, the purpose of their work and the high level of support for the youth. It's always adapting and moving and living this whole process with them. We have our summit next week. These guys will be front and center because we're talking about our districts and our tribes working together for our youth. That's what consultation should be. And you got a lot of this. You got a lot of this with the tribes and the schools. So who better to have?
And you know that. So we did go to sorry to interrupt, but we did go and it was part of the governor's budget and part of my request was to aid his unit so that we would have continuity. Because right now we have a lot of the COVID dollars that are there. And when COVID goes away in 24, the money flows away for good work also.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're talking to a lot of people. It's too late this year, but next biennium to really ramp up, what does this mean to have children, elders, and you know, you laugh about the school district stuff, but it is honest to gosh, true.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I'm bringing in is Department of Interior with Tony Dearborn, who runs the BIE schools. Now we aren't funded anything by state funds with our 2 BIE schools, but they have a lot of resources that we can tap into.
Mhm.
And that's a Department of Interior that we really don't connect with.
Yeah.
In any kind of funding. But glad that you're here. I need to go as well, but I thank you. Are you guys good? Sir, you have 26 days left. How are you?
I think I'm beyond wore out. I have two other jobs, big major jobs that I'm juggling around. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all right.
Well, I was just,
Plus I have a grandbaby that's coming.
Oh,
well,
exciting.
that's joy. That's joy.
That
So-
takes precedence.
Oh, yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
we don't have the camaraderie and visit or open the door or even look them in the eye because of a vote or because of a distrust with a party or an aisle or they said this. I mean, I just came up and the one is going to Minority Leader Abbott. The other one is going to Majority Leader Benton. They call me a liar. They call me this. I mean, it's awful. And there's such joy to be done. It's so frustrating. And we're here, right? So take time with family. Take time with your family here. But I just want to say thank you. I know what it's like. And I sometimes run from my work and try to run to Billings, you know? I know I'm driving tomorrow, but thank you, Brent.
I don't want to like make a burden on the situation right now, but just these, I know that you came up as a proponent for a bill that was recently heard about, is a Jedediah Hinkle's bill about critical race theory, and definitely trying to protect our amendment, you know, our Article 10 or 10 Section 2. The critical race theory issue would hurt the Indian Education for All program. And so in our eyes, you seeing you as a proponent was very at conflict at protecting that program.
You know, there's always words behind the word of a proponent or an opponent.
And so
And-
that was of issue that I wanted to bring to
I
you.
thank you for that. That's the honesty, and you looking me in the eye. Jan, thank you. Lots of story and lots of words behind that. You know, after the last session, I went to the AG because I didn't want it in these halls of what it meant. And his opinion that it shouldn't be in our schools and it's unlawful in our schools. Now, does he have a consequence for that? I don't believe what consequence there would be, except it's unlawful. So I don't know if it's a civil crime. I don't know what kind of gravity of crime, misdemeanor, or whatever that might mean. But to talk about segregating, scapegoating, and it was one other word, discriminating against any student in education is unlawful. And I hold by that. And if that's what critical race theory is, I don't know. But we should never have those three words ever enter into any of our schools.
Yeah, I just feel like anytime that there's an opportunity to pull your child out of a program that is meant to build their understanding and knowledge about the Indian communities in the state, that would be an unfortunate event to happen, because we're trying to, you know, get that recognition from the non-tribal community in the state, and that program is designed to educate them as well as provide us, you know, our identity in the schools.
Indian Education for All?
Yeah.
For sure. Behind it all the way.
And
You
so
know,
just
But I thank you.
for
Thank
these
you.
future hearings on critical race theory, that's of what is of issue when we're going against those types of bills.
You know, it's not defined. Critical race theory is not defined in Montana statute. And I mean, that would be yeoman's work to do that. I believe what the AG opinion stated isn't just about, it's about those three words that we should never, ever have those in public schools, regardless if it's distributed, regardless if it's spoken, regardless of however it would be. And whether that attributes to what the national fever about critical race theory is, it's not in our state at this point. I hope it's not in our classrooms, because I don't go that deep. I just have incursions that come to me. But I thank you. You honor me, like you said, by looking me in the eye and telling me that. The distrust, the challenges that we're having here of people being people who are expelled from a garden That was the most beautiful place in the world. That was by God. And they've been expelled out. And we're here, and that's what we're the price we pay. So we have to make our heaven. And we have to do it with respect. What I have seen, what I have heard from parents in this school and this parent, it is disheartening. Because where's the kid? Where's our children?
Well, I have children that are in the Ronan Pablo School District, and when we talk about these children not having, even on a reservation, you know, the Flathead Reservation is unique to the other reservations, being, you know, a minority on a reservation. These children really do not know that they're native. They may look native, but they don't know they're native, and definitely living on a reservation. That is a really hard thing to grasp.
So one of the things, besides giving dollars to something that's very believable, on lending age, knowledge all together with the resiliency unit that Donnie is in, is also having those class 7 teachers with authentic curriculum so that your children recognize who they are. So I have banked away money and have Jonathan Eagleman that is going to be leading this through our class 7s and getting authentic materials, paying those teachers for authentic materials so we can library them for future use. And that is using those COVID monies as well. So
Appreciate being
Thank
able to
you.
talk to you about
I-
this.
I am here, and they have my cell number if you need.
Okay.
So I thank you, gentlemen. Sorry, I'll let you go ahead and continue. Breathe,
That's good.
right? Breathe. Thank you. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. I think one of the exciting things that you're doing is that first day when the youth and the kin are coming together, because right, the kin are helping the youth put up the teepees together, and the two groups, the youth and the kin, are going to be there together throughout
Yeah.
the whole thing. But it's starting off with them putting the teepees up together and doing some other things together as well, correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like, just what he's saying, for this summit, we've invited folks that we called these administrators, school board chairs, we invited them out. And I did call Ronan specifically, left messages. Polson, we want them to get there in the way that summit would be as the decision makers in the school board chair if possible. Not too many, but get down to the real people, and then the tribes will be present as well. So I'm not sure if they're gonna make it, but I know what you're dealing with. And we deal with it a lot
No,
in
yeah,
many
no.
of our schools.
Usually there isn't too much outspoken families, but our family is. And you know, even my son, you know, he goes to K. William Harvey, and he explains to me that they're not doing any Indian education for all teachings at all at his level. And so that's very, you know, concerning to me, definitely at that young age, where, you know, where they should starting to get that engagement in their culture, definitely through the Indian Education for All program. So yeah, that's what we're dealing with.
I
Yeah,
think,
so I was gonna interrupt you because you were talking about my uncle Bob. So
Mhm.
Robert Forstar, he was the last chief of our Red Bottom Udeshana Red Bottom clan of the Assiniboine Nation. So he was fluent in Assiniboine, and now we have probably 3, as I've told you before, 3 fluent speakers of our dialect, Nakon Iya, or Assiniboine language. But something that's always kind of resounded in my mind was when we were talking about suicide, is that, you know, something that he would say is, even with anything about drugs or anything like that, that's not who we are, you know. And something that he always something that kind of echoes in my mind is him saying that a chief never gives up. And then when he talks to the kids or to the people, that was his teaching, is never give up. And so the suicide, the thought of going sideways, or taking your own life, you know, it's you know, I've been a part of the suicide prevention on Port Pitt for a while, And one of the main things that I've kind of learned or taken away from all of that is that I tell these kids, I said, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. That's the easiest way to put it.
Yes, the truth.
Yeah, so I think like if we can have access to, because like you're saying, I bet when he would talk, and so it's so much different. Because when we start to visit about this, where you'll directly go is, well, we need elders during the day, all day. And it ain't like that. They'll say, why do people overcomplicate everything? That's what they'll say about our education system. So you'll say, well, we could go tell a story to start the month off and come back maybe towards the end of the month and see what they're thinking. And they'll say it in a way that that story will mean different to you every time you hear it, because it'll address what you're dealing with at the time, you know, just that stuff. And then one of the elders said that it's one of the most disrespectful things to tell people how to think in our way. So then you think of our education system. It's just completely upside down. So like having some of these discussions, you know, the free thought, the critical thinking that our kids can do, and then identifying some of this, we're kind of kicking that term around, gift-based education. What gifts do our children have, and can we allow our education system up to the path that they can become successful with that? So these guys, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm honored and blessed to be able to sit with them. My staff has sat with them. You know, we've had various people come and sit with them. And it's just a really powerful thing. And if we can, the vision of the summit is they're going to be there, and I'll present on this. And hopefully we'll have administrators that really care. A lot of our administrators are moving. And so what I envision doing is bringing this up, talking to the district and the administrators, and say, you can create a similar group in your communities. And then moving even further down the road, when it comes to the EFA funds and the student achievement funds, can we create a tribal repository of our folks who know the knowledge of the language, the land, beading, whatever it may be, and create a menu list that districts can contact them and bring them into the school through Zoom or personally. So then you're going right to the source, and we're hiring Indians for being Indian, really. And so that's the other thing that we might be pushing, but it'll come from these. This will be the core of that. But I don't see why we couldn't have a list like that. So someone in, you know, I mean, Helena, see, I'd be interested in, what does the buffalo mean to the Crow tribe, or, you know, whatever tribe. And they can contact us, and we'd have a list of folks that would be very similar to a class 7, but it'd be more of a cultural level. You know what I'm saying? And then we're also looking at a few things with the university systems. We can visit on that some other time, but
Are they still doing the class 7 for